You know what time it is. It's football time. NFL theme song that we can't afford to put in our intro.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about cannabis.
Community violation. Code Green Plant.
It is the start of NFL, so before we even get going, we had to get dressed up and get ready for kickoff on Thursday night. So I'm super excited about that. Welcome to Code Green Plant. I'm your host, Christy Chanel, and I am with my co-host, Phoebe James, and we are ready to get going. But before we start talking about sports and cannabis, I know you're sick and you're braving it for me, and I appreciate you keeping me on schedule.
Yes, I didn't want to cancel.
I know, but I hate that you're sick and you have to go through that, and I know COVID's going around, and I'm not saying that's what you have.
I hope that's not what it is.
I hope that's not what it is, too. So, yes, I'm very excited for football, so I figured today's theme would be sports and cannabis, which is kind of controversial. And so I was like, this should be an easy pull on articles and trying to study for this episode, because there's so much out there for it and against it.
Lots of drama in the professional sports industry related to it.
I know. It's just a plant, people. It's just a plant.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is they don't know if it enhances you athletically. I pulled up an article on it, and it was from Marijuana Moment, which is, honestly, I do want to put a plug out there for them. I have been reading their articles for the last 5 years, and they always keep me up to date. So I'm very, very thankful that I have them. So I pulled this up, though. I Googled it. The headline said, World Anti-Doping Agency experts say marijuana use violates the spirit of sport and makes athletes unfit role models.
Huh?
Unfit role models. Okay. I mean, that's a statement, don't you think? But ironically, later on, it says in the same article that this group also said that their perspectives were mixed over whether it enhances or has the ability to enhance sports performance. The group does acknowledge that athletes have reported that cannabis benefits them by facilitating recovery and reduces pain, but at the end, they said that the use of marijuana in competitions violates ethical standards, justifying their ban. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a mouthful. Because on one hand, they're saying it helps athletes heal. And on the next hand, they're saying, but still, they're unfit. They're unfit role models. I mean, I think people are confused. How can you have such two varying opinions and then justify banning it?
Right.
I'm not really sure how that goes together.
Who's the group that released that statement?
Anti-doping agency experts.
Oh, okay. So,
but I would assume steroids would be on that ban list.
Yeah. And HGH, those type things. But marijuana, I don't...
How are you enhancing? By fixing the tear in your muscle? Soothing sore muscles? They do that. They get in a little ice bath. They do all that kind of stuff. Is that enhancement? It's the same type of thing. So that article kind of, bothered me. And this was just 10 days ago. It's not like I pulled an article from 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
This is 10 days ago.
Yeah, and that sounds like very old school mentality.
So the fact that this article is just 10 days ago is really kind of scary. The differing opinions that are out there on this plant. So that's why I'm even more determined for us to do this podcast to spread this information out there, because honestly, I guarantee you they're not out researching, cannabis and really coming up with a intelligent opinion. This is all this is what I think,
Yeah, absolutely not. They're not doing that, which is why that Health and Human Services recently suggesting that marijuana should be reclassified from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 is so important, because it would open the door and they could test and do research on this stuff. But if they're saying that they are right now, that's not true. There's no way that's true.
No.
Because due to it being Schedule 1, it's not happening.
And, they could stand beside that in the article and say, well, this is a Schedule 1 drug, which states there is no medical use. But now that they're talking about rescheduling it to a 3, they're saying there is medical use. So all of this bullshit and all of these articles, they're going to have to do their research before they just run their mouths.
Yeah, and I think at some point they're going to realize they're on the wrong side of history here, They definitely are in this situation. And I would say, athletics in general, they're starting to get more progressive. I mean, so the message, is out there that it's not all bad. And
no, it's actually good. I mean, of course, there's going to be one extreme to the other, just like in everything in this world. Food can be extreme. Everything can be an extreme. So
anything,
So you're going to have, athletes. I'm assuming that it would affect them if they did it from morning to night and they're smoking and it's affecting their, all of these other things that can happen. But we're just talking about it in a healing way to help their body. And I guarantee you athletes are fully aware of these benefits and they're being told that this can help them.
I think that's why there's so much talk amongst the different leagues about what they're going to do with marijuana testing and how they're going to approach it. And there have been changes over the year for the positive.
So that does bring up a good point. I did go and look to see who's supportive, who's not supportive, who's allowing ads, who's not. And I was able to pull that MLB does allow sponsorship from CBD brands.
Really?
They do, which, I mean, okay, that's cool, especially because one of their own was suspended 100 games. That was John Singleton. 100 games because he tested for the 3rd time of THC.
Oh, wow.
He actually went out of sports completely when the Houston Astros banned him from 100 games or suspended him from 100 games. He said, screw it. I don't want it. I'm out. So he kind of, totally his whole life changed. His whole life. He's been working his whole life to be a baseball player. He gets there and then tests for marijuana and it's all done. 100 games? I don't know how many games are in a season, but that sounds like a lot of games. I don't know if that's one full season or if that's 5 years. 'Cause each team plays 162 games per season.
Was that a recent, or was that some years ago?
2018, so fairly recent. They're supportive at least of ads. And then NBA, NFL, and NHL, they bar CBD and cannabis marketing altogether. They're like, hell no, it's just not going to happen over here.
Yeah, well, you saying that about the MLB made me get on my little Google machine and do a little research, because I'm like, I cheated a little bit. I went to my husband. The top things going on in sports and marijuana and cannabis. And he off the top of his head just started rattling some things off. And the MLB was one he loosely mentioned, but I wanted to look it up. Major League Baseball, effective at the start of 2020 spring training. They revised their screening and it excludes marijuana testing. And that's what my husband had mentioned about the NFL, though. He said the NFL recently revised theirs to, they only get tested once a year now at the very beginning during training camp. And aside from that, they are not tested for marijuana for any reason. And so it basically gives, them that they can during the season and don't have to worry about retribution or being, fined or suspended. And when my husband was telling me about it, what his comment was the NFL recently did that. And I said, well, what about the other leagues? And he said the NBA and MLB, they never really tested their people because they knew it helped them. It helped their athletes recover. So they were never really big into it. It was probably sporadic for the MLB, and then they just decided to kibosh it. And the NBA is the same. It's kind of like they don't really use it. And the NBA had a revision to their policy the beginning of this year that they don't test them for marijuana use at all. Like, it's an actual policy. It's not just kind of the culture where they don't really do it. Now it's an actual policy that it's not part of their program to test for marijuana.
So what you're saying is there's progress.
Definitely progress in the sports industries. And I think that the players themselves are probably the reason for that, because they know how much it helps them. And so it's like, hey, why are you going to take away something that we use to recover and just be our best selves? Because they take a beating on their bodies with all that stuff they're doing. So
I know. My son's also Both of them play. Like my oldest, it doesn't play anymore, but he used to. And my youngest plays now. So I have a CBD topical. It's like 1,000 milligram CBD topical that I use on him. And it is helpful. It is helpful.
Yeah.
So I can just imagine. And he's just, a micro athlete compared to these NFL players and sport, all these athletes. I mean, I'm happy to hear that. It's a lot of progress. It's a lot of progress.
It is.
Too bad it didn't happen, though, for... do you remember that whole controversy with the American sprinter, Sha'Carri Richardson?
Yes, that was sad, honestly. It was sad, really. And that's a whole different... Because that's for the Olympics, right? Or... Yeah, so...
She qualified for the 2020 Summer Olympics after winning the women's 100-meter dash in the United States Olympic trials. On July 1st, it was reported that Richardson had tested positive for cannabis following her 100-meter final at the U.S. trials, invalidating her win and making her ineligible to compete in the 100-meter at the Olympics. They took it away.
That's just sad. She worked so hard, to get there, and obviously she's talented. And they took it away for that, which doesn't affect anything that she's doing.
No,
crazy.
But there is a little bit of joy in this story. It says here that Richardson won gold in the 100-meter at the 2023 World Championships in Budapest, beating Shakira Jackson and Shelly Ann Fraser-Price in a new championships record time of 10.65 seconds. She would also go on to win gold as part of the Team USA. There is a happy ending. There definitely is a happy ending with her. But she didn't know that at the time. And can you imagine the hell she went through just mentally?
No. Especially when there's so many states and so many different types of THC products that are legal. That is crazy that she would lose a chance like that.
Yeah, I know. I was really saddened by that. But I mean, I'm happy that 3 years later, she's killing it. She's the fastest woman in the world. The conflict back and forth, as far as if it's an enhancer or not, I pulled up what CBD oil actually does for athletes.
Okay.
CBD oil can be rubbed on the affected area, or you can use a CBD bath bomb or CBD infused Epsom salt to reduce inflammation and help pain. It makes total sense why CBD is the cannabinoid that they are most aligned with, because it reduces pain and inflammation.
I mean, have you heard what Mike Tyson says about his cannabis use? Or, I guess there's a lot of former professional players that are coming out now saying, how much it's helped him and things like that. But Mike Tyson says, he'll straight up tell you, he should have smoked his whole life. It actually would have helped his career. Mm-hmm. He said, regarding not smoking his whole life, he said, what a mistake that was. I should have smoked my whole career. I should have smoked when I was fighting, because it put me in this different state of mind. I'm very relaxed, and the more relaxed you are, the better fighter you are, at least in my case. So he was even saying that it did help him, just by relaxing and being probably more mentally in the game. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a different way it was used. Yeah.
There was something about a new thing about smoking in boxing. It's a new sport.
Oh, is it? I wonder if he was like the proponent of her, the advocate.
I mean, it only goes together.
I know.
Weed Boxing Championship debuts requires fighters to smoke a bong or joint before competing. I'm not shitting you. August 29th. This article is August 29th from SB Nation.
Where's that sport at? Obviously California, Colorado, one of those states, or does it say? It might travel to all the legal states. You never know.
Let's see. WBC, not to be confused with the World Boxing Council, had held a boxing event last weekend at Samurai International. So it's not here. Thailand.
Okay.
Okay, so this is all taking place in Thailand.
Interesting.
I mean, I'd watch. I mean, I'd totally be into that.
The way they take beatings in boxing, you need to be on something to help you through that. I don't know how they do it.
I don't either. I can't even watch it.
Sometimes I can't either, especially when it gets really,
I told my son, I said, there's only a couple of things that really make me nervous. If you could stay out of those, that'd be great. And boxing, UFC, race car driver. I went to the Indy 500. I was in Indiana for a long, long time. And part of that whole thing was watching race cars, which is fun. Then you see somebody crash and it's like gut wrenching, just come out of the car. But I guess that's part of the whole thing. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm glad they don't smoke a lot of marijuana before.
Right.
Everybody
Definitely
would be
no.
going so slow. They'd be like,
No. No, right.
No,
That
you
wouldn't
go
help
ahead.
them.
No, you go ahead.
It'd be a long race.
Yeah, it would be a long race. But hey, if everybody in the audience participated as well, it could be a really fun thing to do.
That's true.
How many athletes are promoting cannabis brands? So I just wanted to see what was out there. And we're not going to say the brands. We don't have to go there. Kari Lloyd, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist on the national U.S. team, partnered with a CBD brand, along with Rob Gronkowski.
Gronk. Just call him Gronk. I think that's what they call him. Gronk.
Rob Gronkowski. Kronk. Yeah, I think that sounds good. I don't like the Patriots, so I don't really talk too much about him. I'm a Cowboy fan,
okay.
so
You're a
that's
little
why
biased.
I can't. That's right. That's why I can't say his name. Cowboy fans, don't say his name. There you
Okay.
go. And then also Kevin Durant partnered with Weed Maps, and it's a
Okay.
platform that connects cannabis consumers with cannabis businesses. So I think that's like super cool.
That
you
is.
know? And also, I think that also helps businesses. If you're a brick and mortar business, you can put your business in there, and customers can find you.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially current player. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Kevin Durant. Yeah. I actually, of course, my husband just started rattling off professional athletes that have brands. Oh, he did. It was amazing.
He liked the
he's like-
subject.
He's like an encyclopedia when it comes to sports, but I still looked for myself to make sure he wasn't giving me any false information, and I have to say he was not at all. But obviously Mike Tyson, who I just mentioned a moment ago, but also Cliff Robinson, Megan Rapinoe, which I was really surprised about her because she's
is
a big
she?
name in soccer.
Soccer.
Megan Rapinoe? Soccer. Let's see, who else? Nate Diaz, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, John Sally, Allen Iverson, which is one my husband mentioned, Allen Iverson, Marshawn Lynch, and David Ortiz. So there's quite a few. There's a lot out there, actually.
Yeah, and these are really good athletes that you're naming.
They are.
They're no
Yeah.
they're no Joe Schmo out there.
And it means something that they're backing these businesses and advocating for them. It's like obviously they believe in it. And those people, all the people we just named, I would say are definitely someone I would be okay with my son looking up to. I'm
I
still
would
going back
too.
to what you talked about in the beginning. It's like some of the records these athletes have, and that's what you want to say makes them not a role model. But
It's
yeah.
stupid. I mean, it honestly is. And the more people share, they're going to realize it's stupid. And we're going to look back on this episode as history because it's not
Yeah.
going to be a thing later.
Right.
It's just not going to be a thing. The more people use it to help them, the better. And these role models, they should absolutely be leading the way and making it normalized. So
Yeah,
I
and I'm sure
definitely agree.
if any one of them was here, they would say that they're doing it for the health benefits. I guarantee, that's why they would have started doing it in the first place. Like we talked about how hard it is on their bodies. It's definitely the health benefits. They're not doing it to get rich because it's not an industry you can get rich in right now. They tax you so heavily and you have to pay for so much that they are, I would say if someone like that's doing it, it's for the benefits to society and it's not at all for their pocketbook because you're not getting rich off this.
No,
It's just not.
but if they do deschedule, well, I wish they deschedule it, but if they do make it a Schedule 3, they're at least we at least have tax benefits that we don't have right now because they do not allow you to offset your income. You have to pay tax on the full amount that you bring in, and you can't take anything away to help you kind of lower your fee, your tax fee.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah,
correct
that's
wording? Tax fee.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or tax burden, but
Tax burden.
I mean, tax burden. I read recently that the tax burden sometimes ends up being 70% because of all the regulatory things and just extra, like you said, the tax benefits that they can't take, and it's just 70% burden. I couldn't imagine that.
So if we have to look at the two good things to come from this, if it does happen, it's the tax stuff that's coming out for us and the research that's coming out that's going to make everything a little bit better. I can't wait for that. I'm the most excited about the research, honestly.
I think it'll be a game changer. It helps in so many ways medically.
The only
Yeah.
thing they haven't done, though, and even if they move it to a 3, is banking. So we still have to screw with that, Phoebe. I'm sorry. You're not getting let off the hook. We still got to find a bank.
Right.
Dang it. I am so thankful that we were able to have an episode 2, send our episode out on Wednesday, and the NFL kickoff is on Thursday. Enjoy your football. I know I'll be watching. It'll be Sunday
Yep.
for my game, but for everybody
Yep.
else, da-da-dum, 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 da-da-dum. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Phoebe, for hanging out with me, and we are thankful that you're simply vibing with us. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
This episode of Code Green Plant was sponsored by Simply Vibin LLC. Code Green Plant is a Simply Vibin production hosted by Christy Chanel along with her co-host Phoebe James. This podcast is not intended to be used for medical advice and is solely the opinion of the host. Please consult your physician. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to follow us on social media. Want more? Visit www.simplyvibin.com. And a special thank you to the core group of people who helped with the creation of the Code Green Plant podcast. We appreciate you simply vibing with us.
Code Green Plant.
That's